Again, very briefly about Scout and Zone. I know, again, Brooke will go into this in a lot more detail, but we're delighted to have a new partnership with Scout and Zone. Essentially, it is a college recruitment software that allows players to create and develop their own player profile and offers a college search option. They also allow scouts and college coaches to kind of get in contact and have some interaction with the players. Again, for us, Scout and Zone was kind of the logical choice because they are partnered with a lot of the showcases and a lot of tournaments that we have, I suppose, identified for all of our teams. So yeah, Brooke will go into a little bit more detail on that. As I spoke about before, VO, the video recording system that we now have with the club, we have 3 cameras with the club right now. One of which is with the GO3s and GO7s, who split one. Another one is with the BO4s and the BO7s, who also split one. And we have 1 club camera as well. A quick overview on it would be, again, it's a hands-free video recording device. A coach just sets it up at the field, presses record and walks away, and it captures the whole game, which is very, very simple. And is a massive benefit for us. It also tags our goals and key stoppages, all that kind of stuff, which makes it very easy for us to analyze. We, as the club, we've paid the yearly subscription to the software, and again, it allows players to view and edit and develop highlights for their highlight videos, and also allows our coaches to develop team highlights and analyze the team's performance on a weekly basis. We have a couple of videos about VO. I don't think we have quite the time to go through them right now, but again, this presentation will be available for people, and they'll be able to go in and have a look. Basically, as a quick overview, it was just going to be a quick overview of everything I've just said about VO, and I'll try and skip on, and a highlight tutorial just to show people how to create and develop their own highlights. Again, this will be available for everyone after the presentation. So we're just going to skip on in through the kind of the college part of the presentation now. On the screen now, you can see the number of college soccer programs that are available to both men and women. They range from the NCAA to the NIA and the NJCAA, which is the community colleges. And you can see there's, like, on the men's side, there's a total of over 1,200 colleges. For the girls' side, there's a total of 1,400 colleges. So there are so many different options and available to people, regardless of what your standard is or where you're looking to play. There should be a spot for you if you are interested in doing it. On the side then I have the soccer scholarships that are awarded at each level. You can see like a 9.9, that is basically just that program is allowed to offer 9.9 scholarships, and they can kind of divvy that up whatever way they like, whether it is 9 whole scholarships and a 0.9% of a scholarship to people, or whether they would kind of even it out over a whole roster and just divide it by 9.9, and it's completely up to them. So again, you can kind of go through it yourselves and have a look at the different numbers and figure out the different colleges that are involved in the different divisions. But just kind of want to give you a quick overview on that. And then we're just going to go on to a few bits of terminology that you might hear over the coming years. Unofficial visits and official visits to colleges. An unofficial visit is something that's paid by you, and you can go as many times as you like on unofficial visits. An official visit is going to be basically paid by the college in some way, shape, or form, whether it's your transportation or your room and your meals or entertainment expenses, whatever it might be. You're limited to 5 official visits during your time, and only 1 per college. Max of 1 per college, as in you can't go to the same college 5 times. Clicking on again, we have the prospective student athlete. Is a student who started classes for the 9th grade. Our national letter of intent is a document used to indicate a student's athlete's commitment. For the NCAA, and the eligibility center is basically making sure that you are eligible to play in the NCAA, kind of looking at your academic records and your SATs. We'll kind of look at a quick look at a kind of a recruitment timeline. Again, this isn't set in stone, it's just kind of an example, kind of a typical recruitment timeline for people. Freshman year. starting strong academically, getting your GPA to where you kind of want it to be. Sophomore year, making a list of 20 or 30 schools, begin kind of, if you want to make it, unofficial visits to schools to kind of check them out. Start contacting college coaches and attending college showcases, which we will be doing. In the junior year, you're trying to maybe break that down a little bit and kind of shorten your list of schools. Continue to talk to college coaches and make unofficial visits. Start meeting with coaching staffs possibly, and start kind of attending some other games, whether that's local with UW or SU, whatever it might be. And then in your senior year, really narrowing down your list of schools, taking some more unofficial and official visits, and like retake your SATs if that's something that you need, and then apply to universities. Again, this isn't set in stone. This is just something that's a typical kind of timeline for people. We talked about having a list of 20 to 30 schools to start and narrow it down. Kind of how do you go about doing that? This was kind of one of the frequently asked questions that we got from a few people. So we've broken it down into a few different headings. First one, your financial aspects. Consider your tuition. How expensive is the college? Basically, can you afford it? Is it something that is like possible for you? The academic aspects, can you academically get into this college? Does it have a major that you're interested in? All those little bits and pieces. Social atmosphere, very important. If you didn't play soccer, would you like to be at that college? Do they have other clubs or any different athletics outside of soccer that you're interested in? The soccer program itself, is a realistic match? Will you play substantial minutes? Again, I think this was from Margot and McKenna had said this before. It's up to you guys whether, maybe if you can play in a D1 school, great. But if you're sitting on the bench for the majority of the games, is that something you're interested in? Or would you go play D2 and play lots of minutes and enjoy your soccer? Again, completely up to you what you're feeling, but just kind of keep that in mind when you're picking. The athletic program, kind of, again, other sports that they offer, what are their facilities like, and making sure that you kind of have a look at that during your official and unofficial visits. The size of the school, is that something, like, is it going to be suitable to your personality? Is it a private school, public school? Is a large school, small school? Is a big city, small town? Like, does it suit you as a person? The division, kind of similar to the soccer standard that we just talked about. The one thing that I'd like to point out in this one was the in the junior colleges, although it mightn't be everyone's first choice, it might be a good way to kind of a backdoor into getting into the NCAA. It's a 2-year program where you can kind of up your grades and academically to kind of maybe make yourself eligible to play in the NCAA, or again, just kind of get your name out there for college coaches as well. The geographical location, what do you prefer? Are you a beach person, mountain person, city person? Again, just whatever you feel is the most comfortable for you. And then the quality of life. Evaluate your quality of life, your academic intensity, and then your soccer. Don't just choose the school for soccer. Again, this is our highlight video and a couple of little key points when you're creating it. Again, we have the access to our VO, which is a great tool for people to be able to download their highlights and kind of clip them together very easily. But these are just a few little points that we wanted to kind of to highlight about your highlight video. So first one would be keeping it short. It's your highlight video. It's not your full life story. So try and keep it between 3 and 5 minutes, and make sure it's kind of entertaining, I suppose, would be part of it. Keeping it positive. Don't show any of your bloopers. It's your highlight reel you're trying to show off, so make sure it's like full of action. Possibly have an intro to your video that will give yourself like show off a little bit of personality and be able to put a face to the name for the coach. Doesn't have to be anything substantial. Make it relevant to your position. In this example, we have a forward or a striker, and kind of they like maybe would break their video down into different sections like goals, assists, movement off the ball, set pieces. Again, that can be changed for whatever position you might be in. Make yourself visible. Again, during the video, quick highlight of yourself or putting a circle around yourself as the highlight starts will be very beneficial, so the coach can see who you are. If you're adding music, make sure that it's tasteful and it doesn't have any profanities in it. Cost, don't have to break the bank on it. Like I said, we have the VO software and people can use QuickTime and iMovie and all those different things to kind of cut together a decent highlight reel. Doesn't have to be an Oscar winner. And then on your Scouting Zone profile as well, they allow you to have 5 videos on your profile. So you can maybe clip it up to be maybe highlights of different tournaments or kind of your league play, just to kind of give an overall look at your abilities for the coach. Reaching out to college coaches, again, this is something that Margot and McKenna really highlighted to us as something that they kind of wish they knew, and just something that they'd really encourage our players to do. And so we just kind of put a few little things together of how to email coaches and what you should include. So the first one would be to make it personalized. Don't just copy and paste it. Maybe add something about the school and say why you're interested in that school. Make sure you're writing it and not your parents, and make sure it's coming from a good email address. We have a few examples of crazysteve@hotmail.com. Probably not going to be ideal for college coaches. Something that has your first and last name and your grad year would be kind of more appropriate. Including your upcoming tournaments and games. Again, if you're going to play in these showcases, having those little kind of added things into your email will help. Scouting Zone also has a way to connect coaches with your schedule too, so you kind of hit them on from both sides, which would be great. Make sure you tell them about your interested college major. Make note of your GPA. As I said before, colleges can divvy out different scholarships, whatever way they see fit. So if you can qualify for a academic scholarship as opposed to a sports scholarship, that might help them attract a better sports star that maybe isn't as academically qualified, which could be helpful. And then include that your Scouting Zone link as well. That's going to be your soccer resume from now on. When we have this partnership, that will bring the coaches straight to where your profile is, that has all of your relevant information. So myself and Andre just put together a couple of examples of our college letters to coaches. The first one would just be to a college coach maybe before a tournament, or just kind of to tell them that you're interested. And the second one would be a follow-up email. All of the points that we just talked about are included in the emails. Again, you can read through them when you've got a little bit more time, when we send out all of this tomorrow or the next day. Final couple slides before I hand over to Brooke. This next one is about your social media. It's very, very important in college recruitment as well as just in job recruitment. I am in charge of recruiting people for Celtic, and it is one of the first things that we look at for potential recruits would be their social media. What are they following on Instagram, or what are they liking, or what are they retweeting? It's very, very important that you are keeping it tasteful and that you're proud of it. As you can see, there's a couple of coaches here that have saying that they've had to drop potential recruits because of stuff that they've seen on their social media. And then there's a nice quote from Jeff Scott from Clemson Football saying that they had to eliminate guys for inappropriate languages or images or retweets, and they've actually added different recruits because of positive things that they've seen on their social media. As Andre touched on earlier, with some community interaction or some volunteer programs, making sure you're putting them on would be quite important. And the final slide is going to be from Margot and McKenna of like what they wish they had known for their before their recruitment process. Margot and McKenna, as it says here, are UW women soccer players. They're also our coaches with Celtic as of the start of 2020, and we've been delighted to have them. Again, the kind of the main theme of what they wish they'd known is things that we've talked about before, making sure they're communicating with coaches, a little bit more, and making sure that you're doing your research on the school and the coaches and the team, making sure you are completely aware of everything before you kind of jump in. Again, I won't read through all of them because I know we've gone over time and don't want to keep Brooke waiting. With that being said, we're going to pass it over to Brooke now, who is the founder of Scout and Zone, and she will bring us through what the software entails.
Wow, you guys, that was an incredible presentation. I feel like I still have so much more to say because I'm so excited. That was a great presentation. You covered so much. I will add a little bit to it. So I'm going to kind of bounce around a little bit here. I'm going to show you my screen, but first, like Connor had just mentioned, my name is Brooke Sinclair. I'm the co-founder of Scouting Zone. And for the past 5 years, my core business has been partnering with events and working with college coaches. So one of the main reasons that this particular group, Seattle Celtic, decided to partner with us is that we actually have an app that connects you, the player, to college coaches on the fields where recruiting actually takes place. Let me also step back and say how fortunate you guys are to play under such great leadership and people who truly care about the game and who care about the development of your play. So let me just jump into Scouting. It says you cannot share screen. You have to give me permission to share my screen. It looks like Connor. So while he's doing that, I was a Division College player myself. And so one of the things I had to think about was, you know, did I want to be on an all-star team where I was going to sit the bench for 4 years, or did I want to play all 4 years? And that was very important to me. So I decided to go with a lower level D1 school. This was a long time ago. But, you know, I really wanted to make sure that I played all 4 years. And let me see if I can finally share my screen here. After 5 million Zooms that I've done, I'm still trying to figure this whole thing out. So a couple of things to add, you guys, to what Connor had just shared, okay? Number one, this is an ever-changing landscape of soccer right now. And one thing I want to impart into all of you, and hopefully you can see my screen, is that it does not matter the league that you play for, okay? It really doesn't. What matters is the development of your play. And additionally, some of the things that Connor talked about, the way that you're communicating with colleges, the way that you're being proactive in your own recruiting process. And so those are some of the things that we're going to help you with. I get emails all day long. I have 150,000 players in my database, all looking to club hop because they're worried about the league that they play in. You guys are sitting pretty playing for Seattle Celtic because we partner with probably 5, I would say, you guys, of the largest recruiting events in the country that you guys will be participating in as players, where hundreds of college coaches will attend and view your profiles. A couple of tips just before I jump into other things that Connor touched on, but I really want to highlight. So you guys, right now, a lot of soccer people are calling this the separation season. And what I want you to think about is take that word separate and turn it into a positive. How are you going to separate yourself during this time from everybody else? And it just goes back to touching on what Connor talked about. Are you writing effective emails? Are you being persistent about those emails? You're so lucky to have a club that is giving you the ability to have highlight video or a way to create highlight video, because college coaches are absolutely begging for that stuff right now. So even if you're too young and they can't respond, or you're not on the field right now, you likely have a little bit more time than you normally would to take the time to research those schools. And I'll show you how you can do that in Scouting Zone. Create your list of top 20. Make sure that your email is personalized. These coaches do this all day long. If it's a copy and paste, they'll likely send it to the trash. You really have to do some research on the schools. Why do you want to play for them? Grab their attention. Why are you going to come in and be an impact player on that team? Highlight videos are critical at this point. There's still so many programs that are looking to build out their classes. So what I really want to do is ignite hope for you guys, that you haven't lost time, that you have a great leadership team, that you're in the right club, and that through Scouting Zone, we're going to connect you. We're also building on a virtual piece, which I'll touch on here in just a little bit. But first I want to show you our partners. So here's just a list of some of our partners. So at Scouting Zone, we cover over 65 events and most major leagues across the country. This is obviously obsolete, but when you scroll down, and you can come back here at a later date and look at our partners, most of our partners are events that you guys are attending. So let's just kind of jump in and see what that looks like. You can also come to our Scoops page, which kind of gives you some more detailed information about things that you could be doing actively as a player. But right now, I really want to impart to you guys that the ones that are being the doers and not the waiters, when this all lifts, the ones that have waited and are kind of saying to themselves, okay, well, I'm not playing right now. Like, what's the point of reaching out to college coaches? Versus the ones that are actually being proactive are going to be steps and steps ahead. The next point I want to give you, take a folder for your top 20 that you create and respond to the email. So if you send right now an intro email, dear Coach X, I'm interested in your program for these reasons. Here are some attributes about myself as a player. We're not playing right now. I just wanted to say hi. Respond to that same thread, because what happens is when this all lifts and you guys go back to tournament season, and then you finally get that opportunity to send your tournament schedule, that college coach can scroll back and say, oh my gosh, that player's written me now 5 times in the last couple months. Almost every college coach I talk to says, Brooke, this player's emailed me so many times, I almost owe it to them to go watch them play. So don't just send 1 or 2 emails. You are not bothering them. They want to hear from you. The squeaky wheel is going to get the grease. Reply to your same email thread and stay active in that process. And when the time comes, the whole idea of that touch point is that you're ingraining your name into their brains. Because if you just send 1 email before an event, they're getting hundreds of those, especially when this list. People are going to be going nuts. It's going to be a feeding frenzy. If you start now and follow up, hey, maybe I'm introducing myself, and then maybe in the second email, I've got a highlight video for you. And maybe in the third email, here's what I've been working on, outside of, my regular virtual practices. However you can create touch points with these guys, when the time comes, like I said, they're going to remember your name, and you won't get lost in the shuffle of the 500 other emails that they've received. So I'm going to go ahead and give kind of a quick tutorial, and I'm bouncing around a little bit. So here's how we're going to onboard you. So hopefully there's managers that are on site or on this call, because it really starts with you. We're a team-based platform, and that's because our app is designed to connect your players to your team when they show up at events. And I'll also talk to you about how we're going to create a virtual recruiting space for you guys. So let me just move this toolbar and log in as a manager. Again, still learning Zoom. Nope. Let me go to home. Okay, so if you go to register managers, and you guys will get information, Connor should have a packet for this. You hit register, manager, and you guys, this should take you 2 to 3 minutes to fill out, okay? It's a little bit of information. There's a next page. The only thing that people ever get hung up on is their GOT Soccer ID. If you do not have your GOT Soccer ID, just create any 5-digit code to bypass the system. And what that does is at the end, you'll get a confirmation email with your team code with copy and paste instructions to send onto your players. So I'm going to log in as a manager to show you what this looks like. So once you have your manager's account, you're able to look at this. So who is registered? So you'll be able to see a list of your players. As they register with your team code, your list of players will show up here. And this is where you're going to be able to print brochures. I'm going to show you what a brochure looks like. Can you guys see this brochure? You can? Okay, good. What is going to happen with this brochure? So when this all lifts and we go back to a tournament, you're going to be able to pass these out to coaches. Furthermore, for our partnered clubs, because what's happening is college coaches' recruiting budgets are also being cut. Not only are they frozen right now, but they need a way to recruit virtually. So when you have this, we're going to give you guys web links to put up on your website. So Kim McCaskey's name will now become a hyperlink. And a college coach can go directly to your website. We'll send an email to all 3,600 plus of our college coaches. They can click on Kim McCaskey. They'll take them to their Scouting Zone profile. They can take notes on her. They can flag her, everything that they can do in our app. And then every manager will have the ability to upload 4 highlight videos within the last year so that they can actually virtually recruit you. And that's going to become a thing. Okay, so it's important that managers do step one, which is creating and making sure that all of your players are registering themselves. And I'll take a Q&A at the end of this if you need, but again, you will be given a packet on how to do this. If you have more than one team, you can actually just create a new team from right here and have a toggle down of your different teams. For players, once you get that email, it's kind of the same thing. You're going to hit register, then player. Here's going to ask you for your team code. This is where you enter your team code, and you saw how that on that manager's list it populated the team. That's how it's going to link you to your Scouting Zone, team essentially, and it's just basic information. Once you log in, and this is what I'm going to show you next, is what a profile looks like. This is how a college coach is going to view you, you guys. This is free to you. This is what your club has invested in for you guys to use. So first and foremost, make sure that you upload your picture. So when college coaches go in and they try to identify you and they've watched you play, that they actually have the visual. If you don't, then we just upload kind of a blanket picture. Here's where you enter all this great personal information, your education information. You don't have to know your interested college major, but I just want to give one great example. So University of Hawaii is a subscriber of ours. They'll go through our entire database for, let's say, a particular class and search for players that are interested in marine biology, because they know that they can go up against Stanford, UCLA, USC, and anybody else in the country because you are interested in a major that ties you to that university. So going back to what Connor said before, the number one question that you need to ask yourself when you're creating your top 20 is, if I didn't play soccer here, would I still want to attend the university? Heaven forbid you have a career-ending injury, or the coach that recruited you has now moved on and maybe you don't jive as well with the coach. That needs to be first and foremost. Having something that ties you to that program when you write your emails is going to make them more interested in you than someone who doesn't maybe have that. But again, if you're a freshman or sophomore, you might not know. And that's totally okay as well. Just something to think about. Athletics, we give you here kind of just a way to brag a little bit about your athletics. Video, Connor, I know you said 5, but this is actually unlimited. And now that you have VO and you're able to take some of that highlight video, you're able to upload as many of those as you want. So this is a great way for, and again, I'll show you how coaches see this on the other end after you're finished. I'm just scrolling down here in the essence of time. Here's your top 10. This doesn't make a whole lot of sense to you right now because you're not on the field. But when you participate in the top 5 events that we partner in, that you guys participate in, let's say you pick University of Washington. When University of Washington logs in and they click this little U button on their app that they use, it'll identify every player on that field that has chosen UW in their top 10. So we're trying to make better connections through all of this information, your GPA, your interested college major, who you chose in your top 10. So, and this is, I thought it would be it's really great for lower D1, D2, D3, because they can go up and say, okay, well, I'm going up against UW. I've got a list of 20 kids that are playing that are interested in my program from Seattle Celtic. Why wouldn't I go watch them play? But I've also seen that schools like UW who subscribe to us also use this. They want to know that you as a player are as interested in them as you are, vice versa. They want the interest level to be the same, right? So go ahead and fill out your top 10, and once you guys start participating in events, that'll be important. I'm going to use the college search function here in a second, but I also want to show you where your link is. So here's your link to send. So when we say in your emails, include your highlight video, or I'm sorry, your Scouting Zone profile, you just copy this and then you paste it into the emails. And here's what a college coach sees. Now, you guys, something important to note. My business partner and I, both D1 players, we all played, but we weren't coaches. Everything that we've developed has been based off of college coach feedback. We said, what do you want to see if a player is going to send you information? They don't want canned information. They don't want information coming through a third-party source. They want well-written emails that are coming from you. And then here's where they click on all this great information that you put into your Scouting Zone link. And most programs are familiar with us at this point because we've been around for a while doing this and covering so many events. So here's your personal information, the ability to contact your club coach. You guys, a club coach is a big deal right now. When you are creating your top 20, bounce that against your club coach. Does it actually really fit your level of play? Also, your club coach is your biggest, or maybe not your biggest, advocate. Do you have an attitude on the field, or do you show up with enthusiasm and excitement every time you show up? Because if they identify you as a technically and tactically good enough player for their program, their next question is, what is this person's characteristic like? Are they good people? Are they going to come in and be problem children, or are they going to come in and be leaders on the program? So you really want to make sure that you have a good relationship with your college coach, because that's what happens next after they identify you. Here's where you uploaded your highlight videos, so they can toggle through for as many as you uploaded. And again, here's your education, athletic information, any accolades that you wanted to enter. You can enter other sports. Here's your upcoming tournaments. We have none here. Players also ask for additional info. So, if you've been the captain of your team for the last 4 years, add that. If you do a ton of community service, which was spoken by Andre, that speaks something to your character. They want to know these things. What are you doing outside of soccer that is going to contribute to this program from you as a person, maybe not so much just as a soccer player? So you can also add additional information here. So now jumping back into the player profile, here's how the college search works. So let's just say, for sake of me living in California, I choose California. You can choose school type, public, private, however you want your settings to be. The athletic association. You guys, please don't feel like Division I is your only option. I hear so many players feel like that's it. There's so many great options out there now. D2, D3, NAIA, I didn't even know existed when I played. JUCO is even a great option. College coaches love to recruit players that go from junior college and have a great career into their next 2 years in an upper level program. So don't be afraid of the different options that are out there. You don't have to say, hear too many players say, I'm not D1, so I might as well not play. That's not the case. There's a spot for you. There really, truly is a spot for you. If you are willing to look at your grades and your soccer ability, and you truly want to play college soccer, there's a space for you out there. So if I just choose Division I, and we'll leave the rest of this alone, but you can choose by conference, college name, and I hit search, it'll drop down anything that I put into that criteria, okay? So let's just take Cal Poly, for instance, and I say show more info. So here are the head coach emails. Now, with this small caveat, when you send an email, include all coaches. Don't just send it to the head coach. Go back to the athletic website and try to pull down as many emails as you can. Assistant coaches should be getting this as well. This is great for the parents because scholarships, unless you're a national team player, are not 100%. And even then, they might not be 100%. As Connor had mentioned, they're pieced together. Some could be athletic, some could be academic. But likely there's going to be a little out of pocket. So this helps parents understand, in-state and out-of-state tuition. Players, this is great for you. Are you being realistic about your academic standards? Do you actually fit the requirements of the academics of that particular program? And then you can save it to favorites, which I already have, but I'm going to unfavorite it to show you how it's done. So I'm going to unfavorite this. And so you can click add to favorites. And as you're going through and you're going through your search and you're going through, and when Connor sends you the presentation with all those great things to think about, financial, social atmosphere, soccer atmosphere. If you didn't play soccer, would you love to be there? Those are the things that you're looking for. What state do you want to be in? Do you want out of state? Do you want in state? You can use this to kind of navigate that and then create your college favorites. And here's where your college favorites list exists. You'll hone this over time. Maybe when you're a freshman and sophomore, that starts as a large funnel. And then when you get to talk to it, if you guys email, you're going to hear crickets. If you're a freshman or a sophomore and you haven't passed your June 15th of your sophomore year, do not be discouraged. They are getting your email. Please continue to email these people. They will remember that you are interested. They'll have a folder for your class. And if you keep responding to the same thread, they will absolutely say to themselves, wow, this player really wants to play for my program. So here's how you utilize the college search function. I'm seeing some chats come up. So there are some of the things that you can do with your profile. Most importantly, you guys, is that we have this connection piece. That if you do the things that Connor is asking you to do, that this leaderboard here with me tonight is asking you to do, this is the downtime. This is the time for you to take advantage of a couple free hours to figure out your programs of interest, to get active in emailing those schools, introducing yourself. It doesn't matter that you don't have the game coming up. Introduce yourself. Reply to those threads, send your highlight videos, and be the squeaky wheel. And I promise you, if you do those things because you work with such a great club that is putting you in front of college coaches, no matter what the league, under great coaches and leadership, at the end of the day, those coaches will show up at your sidelines. And so that's what we're kind of collectively here to do between your leadership and Scouting Zone, is to become your education resource and the profile that is actually being seen by college coaches in a live setting and now a virtual setting. Any questions? Did I hit everything, I hope, that I wanted to hit? Really, really excited to work with you guys. If you guys have, I can't really see the Q&A, I don't think at this point, but if there are any for any of us, this is a great time for people to ask questions that, you know, maybe their teammate is thinking about asking, but was too scared to ask.
I saw one, Brooke, from Margot. Margot plays on UW's women's team as well as coaches with Celtic. And she had just said, on your point of, okay, head coaches are listed, also reach out to the assistants. And she had just mentioned saying that like assistant coaches are generally the head of recruiting operations.
Absolutely.
Don't leave them out, you know. So I think that's a great point. So
the assistant coaches are doing the vetting process. And really you don't get to a head coach until an assistant coach has identified you as a qualified player for that program. And that's why even though we give head coach emails, go back to the athletic webpage and include as many emails as you can, because you want to hit as many of those coaches as you possibly can. And I'd love to hear more insight about anything that I've discussed from Margot, if she has anything to add to this, as a college coach herself, about, you know, these players feeling like they're bugging you guys. You know, I don't want people emailing you 10 times a day, but there's some persistence level and the efficiency of an email. If you continue to follow up, you know, they're less likely to get lost in the shuffle when you as a major program are getting 500 emails before, you know, a big showcase event. I would say most coaches tell me that they remember the names of the players that continue to reach out. And if you have questions, now's a great time for you to ask. And I know we're running along here, but what is NAIA? That's a great question. I didn't even know back in the day. NAIA is a totally separate entity from the NCAA. So they created sort of their own league, if you will. If anybody on the panel wants to expand on that, it's just a different league. It's not associated to the NCAA, but coaches are still recruiting from the NAIA schools are still recruiting. Lots of information. Thank you so much. What I believe I heard you say is freshmen and sophomore players should contact coaches about interesting profiles, but that the coaches are not allowed to contact them. Yeah, that's correct. I don't think there's anything wrong with starting young. I mean, especially as maybe not so much as a freshman, especially on the boys' side. But why not get on the radar early? So when I played, you could step out onto the field and be good enough to be found. That is not the case anymore. There's too much competition and you're sitting in such a great spot, but there's too many great players out there. So the more that you reach out, I think the better chances that you have. So yes, you're going to hear crickets until after June 15th of your sophomore year, but why not get on their radar? When talking about yourself in emails, did you just talk about strengths, or would you add weaknesses that you're working on? I think it's okay if you, first of all, you want to put your best foot forward, whether it's a highlight video or an email. I would not start out with weaknesses. If you send a highlight video, what I would say that you could ask is, Coach, I sent you my highlight video. I'd love your feedback, especially if you're of age. Is there anything that I could be working on or improving on? The other thing too is talk to your club coach about your weaknesses before you talk to a college coach about your weaknesses. They know you as good as a player and a person than almost anybody else. So I don't know that I would add weaknesses just yet, unless you're further down the line and you're in deep discussions and there's things that you need to be working on. I would really start strong and refer back to your club coach about, the things that you could be doing to improve your game. And there's a link right there to NAIA.org. At the end of this, I'll be making sure that Connor passes out all of the codes to the managers so that you have the free roster printout, as well as the free upgrade code for players. But managers know that you kickstart this process. It takes 2 minutes. Players, it takes maybe 5 minutes, because I want you to include as much as you can. And then when we create this virtual recruiting space, and then for you guys, Connor, we're going to create an admin role where you can log in and make sure, okay, all of my teams are being compliant. But hopefully this information was helpful for you guys tonight. I think it's a time to get excited and not feel down, even though it does feel down and it feels alone. You're feeling like confused about the process. You can really turn this thing around and use it as a time to get ahead of everybody else.
Yep, perfect. Like, thanks so much, Brooke. Really appreciate you, everything you've done there. That's been a great presentation. I suppose just to add on to your point as well, since we are in, a time where we can't be on the field, there is like nothing but time to go and create your profile on Scout and Zone once we send out everything, and start kind of playing around with the different options and kind of get used to the system. But yeah, thanks so much. Thanks so much, Brooke. I don't know, Kev, have you got anything you want to add in?
Yeah, well, I guess Annie had asked, how do we get the Got Soccer number? I think just we have a club like Got Soccer number, each team, when we register for these tournaments. We do it through Got Soccer, so we'd make sure that we could make sure Ethan passes that on to everyone, or we'll pass it on to everyone. One thing I think that it's important to add is that, like, it is so important. Like, we can provide the tools and we can give everyone an idea of the process and how the recruitment process works. But the most important thing is that you are spending time playing and practicing. I mean, no, there's no substitute for just time on the field. And we say it time and time again, or emails, but it's a dream of so many kids from around the world, definitely around the States, to play college soccer. Everyone wants it. It's such a great thing to be striving for. But there are a lot of spots, as Con went through, but it's still not, you can't just, you look at the amount of spots and think, I'll just walk my way on. Like, you have to put the time in, and it's coming down to like 2 hours, 3 hours every day. You need to want it more, because there are so many players fighting for that spot. Would you all agree, lads? Like, I mean, there's no substitute for time on the field, and
no,
have to put
time on the field and GPA. The next question after they identify you is, what's their grades? So you have to put in the work on the field. You have to keep your tactical ability up right now. You can't be a waiter. You can't just sit and hope that this is all going to pan out well for you. So take advantage of the time. You can actually be better now than you were before. I hate to say that, because there's no substitute for playing, in a game setting, but take advantage of this time to get stronger, to work on your agility. Yeah, you can't sit back and wait on any of this, including your schoolwork. Is there a cost to player for creating a profile? That's the beauty of your club. They have taken it upon themselves to have this great resource for you guys, because they're investing in you. So invest in yourself as much as that club is investing in you. There will be no additional cost to you. You'll be given out, and no additional cost for managers to print out brochures as well. So hopefully recognize that you're playing under great leadership and playing for a great club that has invested in things like VO to make sure that you've got your highlight video stuff, that you're investing in things like Scouting Zone that can connect you live on the field. So no, you can thank your club for that.
Cool. I think that's kind of it. I don't know if you want to wrap it up, Kev, with a song or something, but
you know what, I suggest, I had the guitar, it's kind of out of tune. The boy said absolutely under no circumstances, and there are still a few questions coming in, I'm seeing, and maybe Con can How much is it for a team to fund the VO camera? And is there a VO camera for each team? So what we did as a club was we subscribed to VO, paid a yearly membership fee, so we had access to VO as a club. And then we bought a club camera, which means that there's one camera for the club, so we try to get around to different games. There's many games we could the weekend. However, some teams decided they wanted every game filmed. And so Connor coaches the GO3, 04 and the GO7s, and so they pitched in to buy a camera together, and then Ethan, who does the BO4 green and the BO7 green, they also pitched in, and so it means at least that every game of theirs is filmed. And so look, VO is great in that you just set it up and it does the recording, it uploads, it is so easy. And one thing in the past, we've asked parents if they could film, but obviously people want to watch their kid play, and it's very hard to enjoy the game while you're looking at the camcorder or looking at your phone. So VO is great. Con's talked about it. So we can send out more information about how teams would go about, getting a VO camera, and maybe certain teams could pitch in together to do it. But yeah, that's on the VO. My final, I guess, just to reiterate, thanks very much, Brooke, for this presentation. I know we sat down and looked through it a few weeks ago, and we're really impressed, and it's why we chose Scouting Zone. And thanks to Con and Andre for everyone for dropping by. I'm sure you've tons to be doing. 7 p.m. on a Thursday evening.
I know.
World is your oyster. But sorry, Brooke.
Oh, I said no. They might want to eat or something, but I agree. The world is your oyster, and awesome participation. It just shows that you guys are eager and willing, and good stuff all around.
Yeah, quality. So yeah, my closing remark is just a reiteration of what I said. Just get out when you can, and when we're back in the field, and spend as much time playing soccer as you can. That's going to be the key to opening up as many doors, many options. The academics are very important too, but yeah, spend as much time on the ball. Thanks very much. We'll end things. Con, you're laughing. Do you want me to get the guitar? I can get the guitar.
I'm disappointed.
All right. Well, thanks everyone. And if there's any questions that we haven't gotten to, email us, and we'll do our best to get back to you. Thank you. See you later.
Right. Thanks for having me, you guys. Have
Bye.
a good night.
Sure.
Thanks,
Bye.
Mike.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Done.